on January 16th, which was a very, very cold evening, and you wore that very, very heavy coat. It's warm today, so you came without the winter coat I give you. You can introduce yourself. Who are you, sir?
My name is Herman. My name is Irving. No. My name is Joe Franklin, and I've been the host of the program on TV and radio called Memory Lane for many, many centuries. I would say about 53 years. And I'm only 39 years old, which makes it real.
39, 95, you always say.
That makes it Robert Ripley, believe it or not. And I'm here today with the man I've idolized since I was a little kid, my role model, my mentor, the man who created me from dust. His name was Walter Gollender. Both of you on your show was like a dream come true, because I've been a fan of his on Series now since the end of the Spanish-American War.
At least.
Way back.
Speaking of the Spanish-American War, I had a lot of time this week, and I was reading the great book. You can just reach over there into the blue room and pick out the book.
Up Late with Joe Franklin.
I never realized, seriously, I know you've been an icon, you've covered every situation in show business, but when I go back before Martin Block, and before bringing the records in, the 78s in.
And Martin Block's picture was in this book, you know.
I saw Martin Block, I saw all of the people. You have been with people that, it's incredible, and what's a wonderful situation, Mr. Franklin is still with us.
I think what you tell the young people who Martin Block was, he was the host of a very famous radio show called the Make-Believe Ballroom. And Dick Clark, as a youngster, idolized Martin Block. Dick Clark dedicated his first 2 or 3 books to Martin Block. That program was so popular that he was more popular in the ratings than the other 3 networks. WNEWZ was only an independent station. He got higher ratings than the 3 networks that were right opposite him, so it's a tribute to them. When he died he died of a heart condition at the age of 60. I did a 5-hour tribute to him on Don't Go on radio to Martin Block. Just thought we'd give a little plug to the man who sort of inspired me.
You have talked about that, but in this book, which I hope people can still get, which is called
Up Late with Joe Franklin.
If they can still get this, it gives you goosebumps, because I know quite a bit about show business, not as much as someone like yourself.
I know a lot.
No, I know, but I only know from the 4 races on. But you've got stories about, comedians that have come and gone. What has been the secret of your longevity and your legendary status?
Well, the first thing about this book, as I might have tried before, this book is now in its 3rd printing. Tell the audience why.
Well, I bought one.
So the first 2 printings were blurred.
Well, there is a section here that is flawed.
The book has sold 75,000 copies so far,
and
they're all in my house. No, it's a big seller.
Your house is a big seller, or?
Both. And I've done a book since then called Joe Franklin's Great Entertainment Trivia Game. So it's my first paperback. It's my 22nd book, and the trivia game is my 23rd book. So it's
look, and some of your high school notes from your exams are stuck in here on page 68 or 69.
Tells about the book I wrote with Marilyn Monroe in it. The whole chapter is based on my couple.
You mean when you met her and Bill Slater at the dinner at Sardi's? You want to tell that story again? Now tell us something. You passed it off like it was nothing, but if any of us, like Big Joe or James Petrecca, had run into Marilyn Monroe,
Mr. Petrecca, I tell you, I never met such a kind man in the store. When you walk in the store, it just oozes with great memorabilia, great nostalgia. And people wonder, is there a market for nostalgia? The answer is, I was talking to Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, the other day. He told me that 1/3 of every dollar spent on entertainment goes to what you might call romanticizing the past. 1/3 of every dollar goes. But what are the big selling movie rentals? It's Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, Wizard of Oz, Citizen Kane, Fred Astaire compilations, Frank Sinatra compilations. So nostalgia is not a minor commodity anymore. It's a big business.
How much does it hurt for people like yourself, an icon, truly all over the world? Because how much does it hurt when you see what's happened to the entertainment business today? When you see the wreck that's out there today?
It's kind of sad, but you can't knock what pays the rent. These guys are cleaning up. But when Al Jolson was the #1 star in the world, his salary was $4,000 a week.
At the Winter Garden and places like that?
Jazz singer, movie, and everything. They bought went to go to the theater, and $4,000 today wouldn't pay for the first
For the rehearsal.
minute on the catering table. You know what I'm saying? It's just today they get like $28 million up front for a movie. $28 million. I gotta work 2 weeks for that kind of money.
At least.
You know?
It puts you in a higher tax bracket, doesn't it? Speaking of a higher tax bracket, which I wasn't, here's a question. We get a lot of people writing in notes to ask you, and they can't be here in person, so I have accumulated all the questions. So we'll be here for about 7 to 8 days doing this.
Weeks.
Once it's going to run into the
Perpetuity.
To the Paleothonic period, the Ice Age. One of the major...
Not the garbage. Ice Age.
You did that just as we wrote it. Actually, we've been rehearsing this for how many weeks?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. If you had not gotten into this legendary business of nostalgia, what might you have been at age 15?
Well, my original intent, I wanted to be a man who would check the hats in a synagogue.
Really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, it being funny because in the synagogue nobody takes off their hat. So I have to work too hard.
I think...
Then I wanted to get a job for selling donuts to midgets for life preservers. But that didn't take off, so I...
Are you making fun of this interview?
I'm taking it very seriously.
Because you know we could withhold your check.
No, please, don't hold it. I need that money.
You used to talk on the show, and we did the 4 parts with Al Alberts in August and October of 1987. You said on the show tonight we have Rosie of Greenwich Village. Now, who was Rosie? You said, I'm a big fanatic of Rosie.
It's really interesting you should mention that, Walt, because there was a lady named Rosie the poet. In private life, she was the secretary to a very wealthy family. I forget the name of the family. But I think she must have managed. I was heard Rosie now about 10, 12 years ago. She must be gone to a far better place, but she used to come and see me at least once a week and make me laugh in my office and do poetry. But I miss her. I miss Rosie. A little short, heavy lady.
Yeah, she was on the show with Al Alberts.
That's right.
And you had the hobo, Bob Hopkins, the hobo, and you had myself. And we showed those clips of the 4 races from South America because we wanted to show the 1950s clips, but due to legal reasons and paying royalties to the union and to the musicians' welfare fund, we could not show the 50s clippage, which I did have of Sullivan and the Burl.
Well, I want to show the whole world on a really serious note that Walt Gollender over here is one of the few people who had open house, open entree to my panel, and without being booked in advance, didn't have to talk on the phone and secure an official booking. You can walk in any time. And I know you walked in with so many times with, I think once with Ronald Reagan, once, I had 5.
That was on a Wednesday afternoon.
I had 5 U.S. presidents. I had Frank Sinatra 4 times, and Charles Chaplin, Bill Cosby, I had John Wayne, Cary Grant,
Georgie Jessel
about 110 times.
One bright and guiding light. Hit it.
That taught me wrong from right.
More nasal.
I found in my mother's eyes.
Those baby tales she told.
That road all paved with gold. I found in my mother's eyes. And if I were hung from the highest tree, I don't see this come up to me. My mother did. If I would drown in the deepest sea, I don't see this come down to me. My mother said, the world may call you failure, and the stakes may cry you small, but in the eyes of your mother, you're as big and as great as them all.
Man, to pause, Joe. I think I'm having a nostalgic moment.
You may kiss my ring.
Speaking of kissing your ring, of all the people who helped you, and I saw them all cited in this great book, and I couldn't put it down. This is like pistachio nuts. You just can't read one page. I just said, how did you remember every anecdote, every date, every story?
I forgot to, I didn't complete my Marilyn Monroe incident.
Yeah.
I had her on that program called Luncheon with Sardi, to
right.
The show hosted by Bill Slater.
Yes.
I was seated one day between Molly Pecan
right.
and Marilyn Monroe. I was in the middle. And I just struck up a conversation with her, and we got together. We spent about 2 weeks writing her book, and then what happened, Walter, the day the book came out, that day, or that week, the publisher died, and that book, therefore, didn't sell that many copies because there was no more Rudolph Field business than Rudolph Field. So that book now, if you want to look on eBay, sells for $10,000. It's called The Marilyn Monroe Story by Joe Franklin. Sells for $10,000.
Well, you still have the
I got
copies?
two copies. Like, I don't know where I put them, but I know I have them.
Why don't you go and reissue it since you have the
I'm
rights?
going to check it with the lawyers.
Because everything old is new again.
I thought about that.
Because you probably need money. I know you're down to your last shekel.
My baby needs milk.
Why don't you someone's chuckling. Is that a laughing cameraman?
Yeah.
If there's one thing I detest, I say this is a giggling cameraman. And that's a giggling cameraman.
Now you're going to make him put us on upside down. He's a nice man. Put us on straight up, not upside down.
You're talking about Big Joe.
Big Joe's the best.
How tall do you think he is?
I would say standing on your wallet.
All this is rehearsed, so you people, you think this is all spontaneous. We've been going over this on phone, on email, B-mail, C-mail, and D-mail.
I've always said it's better to love a short man than never to love a tall.
Yes.
My mother told me, don't marry out of my height. You think I'm so handsome for my height?
Well, I would say you're a lot taller than you used to be when you were at Channel 9. But I want you to know, all of your friends like Richard Ornstein and James Petrecca back there, and Joe Roleri, and all of our friends can watch the show in several parts on his station, which is Channel 26, on upcoming Friday nights at 7:30. And that makes at least 4 of us will be watching the show.
I've heard many nice things about your show. I'm pretty serious now. I'm very honest.
He's been on for how many years? 20-something?
25.
25 years, and he just takes off for Jewish holidays. Well, another question. We can't just have this fun and games. This life is not just... life demands serious attention.
Don't forget the one Jewish holiday named after me.
Which is...
Purim.
I don't get that. Moving along, you said earlier this is a cozy place. Do you know that this is just the front office, that these walls, like those Charlie Chan movies, these walls slide back. If you push a button here or a belly button, this whole wall slides back, and there's another 40 yards of more memorabilia back there.
One great store.
You'd like to have a bed and sleep here at night, wouldn't you?
I plan to.
If you pay some of the rent, you may be well invited.
I'd love to.
Another question which I throw at you. We've mentioned about the stars that you couldn't get, and tired of talking about the same thing, but I like to ask questions that usually have not been asked by the run-of-the-mill interviewers.
Which you are not. You're a champ.
I am a champ because I learned from people like you and Al Alberts and the radio celebrities and William B. Williams and Jack Lacey and the people who know how to go beyond the cliche. So I asked you about what you wanted to be, and we know what you have become. Wherever I go, people say, is he still doing radio and television?
It's nice of you to mention William B. Williams.
Yes, he followed Martin Block.
Well, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I went to WNW one day to have lunch with the receptionist, who was an old friend of mine. That's the day Martin Block saw me standing in the hallway. He said, "What are you doing here, kid?" I said, "I'm here to have lunch with the receptionist." He said, "I just lost my record picker. I would like to be my record picker." So I got the job. But I knew nothing about music. It was William B. Williams who gave me a an overnight crash course in music. I didn't know Harry James from Benny Goodman. I didn't know Tommy Dorsey from Glenn Miller. But William B. Williams taught me everything. Died young, died of leukemia. We had a great voice. I'm glad we had the chance now to honor William B. Williams.
It's amazing that, as I said earlier, I was looking at the book, and you can't put it down. Everything, Woolsey and...
What happened to the cover? I'd like to show the cover.
You mean the dust jacket?
Yes, God, huh?
You're embarrassing me now.
Up late with Joe Franklin. It's published by Simon & Schuster.
And perhaps it'll be reissued? Perhaps? Say
Never
yes,
know.
nobody listens to the show anymore.
Never know. No, your audience is huge.
Some with 400 pounds, some 360.
Very good.
But all rehearsed. There's nothing here spur of the moment. It's all
I have a
rehearsed.
quick question.
A question from the cameraman.
Are you ever going to try to do something on TV Land? That would be a great show some of your reruns.
As of now, Joe, I got maybe 7 or 8 companies after me to go back into TV, with open checkbooks. I'll be 34 years old, so I'll be a little bit of a strain. Just doing radio now.
Well, what about the documentary?
No, the old shows like on TV Land, they show they're bringing back everything.
It's in the works. It's a matter of clearances and rights, but it's all in the works.
Would you have to pay back royalties to all of them?
No. Just got to get permission from the lawyers. call it errors and omission policy. So it's
Really?
It's in the
Because that's the reason we couldn't show the old four races clippage. You remember you said we're going to go back in time to when the four races were the best group?
It's in the hopper.
But we couldn't do that, I said, because of the fact the Musicians Union, all these states would want to get royalties, like the Dorsey Brothers
Right,
shows,
right.
Tommy and Jimmy show, when you wouldn't have to pay that.
A lot of research, a lot of bookkeeping, and sometimes when you think it's all ready to go, somebody will crawl out of the woodwork with another lawsuit. So, but we're negotiating right now.
Speaking about crawling out of the woodwork, remember the first time you met me?
The biggest day of my life.
1964, my friend. I came on the show. I was invited on by Al Fleckenstein.
He's gone?
He's gone. Yes, he had to go to an appointment about an hour ago.
Beautiful man.
And he said, you're going to go on the Joe Franklin show with Jimmy Miller, my little black singer. And we did our song Genie, which James Petrecca happens to love. Wave your hand, James. See if you're still breathing back there. Wave your hand vigorously.
Got great taste in music, this man.
Oh, yes. And Jimmy Miller and I came on the show in 1964. In fact, hand me this flyer. Here we are. No, no, this is the record that you're holding. I'm going to show you this. And hand me the brochure. Now, let's reenact this. Over here, this is very rare, Joe. You're going to hold this in your hand. That's Genie. Look at that. I'm going to reenact this. This is something you'll never see on any other show, a reenactment. Hold it like you're holding it there. Your finger, three fingers over here.
Beautiful.
Just like that. We are reenacting something from 1964. Mr. Franklin, seated to my left, is holding the record. One hand.
I had another Jimmy on my show that very called Jimmy Roselli. Know Jimmy Roselli?
Yes. This was Jimmy Miller.
I know. Jimmy Miller's a great singer. Where's he nowadays?
Right. Jimmy! We'll be finished in about an hour. He'll come in. He ran off.
In the balcony.
He ran. I have a woman in the balcony, Doctor.
There were two Snickers.
50 silver dollars to the lady in the balcony. And speaking about coming out of the balcony, what is all this talk about you doing a documentary? I mean,
This is the work. She has to
really, something about that you can produce and you can have all the hold the cards, so to speak.
in the works.
Because everybody says, Joe Franklin, my mother watched them, I watched them.
Well, a couple of documentaries already being circulated on Channel 13. One is called 50 Million Joe Franklin Fans Can't Be Wrong.
Right.
Here and there. There's one called My 40th Anniversary Special with Billy Crystal, with 20 great stars, Bill Burrell, Bobo, Bill Cosby. So it's there's a big special now called Make 'Em Laugh on Channel 13. I'm on there analyzing Charlie Chaplin and Martin Lewis.
Besides that Arthur Tracy movie, Pennies from Heaven, weren't you in that one?
I'm not sure.
What was the one where they are looking at the Woody Allen movie?
Broadway Danny Rose.
Yeah, in Broadway Danny
I'm in
Rose.
Ghostbusters up 29th Street. I'm
Ghostbusters.
in quite a few films. I got a lot of film on my teeth right now, too, but we're getting better.
Let me see there. This is Dr. Cronkite.
Hey, that's my advice.
Don't!
I love Dr. Cronkite.
Walter Cronkite's recovering also.
He's greatly ill, but I hope he gets better. And I got the same news by that big man who was a very dear friend of mine. But
What happened with that big man?
he died.
Did we know?
Yeah.
I didn't read the paper. Did you know that, James McCracken?
I was going to call you to tell you about it.
It'll be in tomorrow's paper.
People are dying now who never died before. It's very sad, really.
So he's not going to be coming around for the Publishers Clearinghouse?
And yelling, here's Johnny.
You're not going to have him.
In fact, Ed McMahon, we should say, was the originator of the precursor of American Idol. He had a show called Star Search.
Remember that? Yeah, that's right.
People go crazy about that show.
And all of this followed the Gong Show when they were trying to save money in the nightclub, the Gong Show. And you had karaoke, which is a disgrace because they're using all those tracks. They're using all the I'm in publishing and royalties, and they're using tracks. Let me finish before I dismiss you. Because, I'm not beyond doing that.
Take your time and hurry up.
They're using tracks, Joe. And if you have any friends who are doing karaoke and they're not paying the publishers money for the tracks, and people are singing to the music that's been created, it's intellectual property, and I won't stand for it. Say something.
No, there was a time when they decided that the audience over the age of 40 was totally wasted. They took off so many shows in one fell swoop. They figured anybody over 40, they're not going to change their brand of dog food or their car or their soap powder. So they took off so many. These shows that they removed in one season were all #1 in their spot. They took off Ed Sullivan Show, Red Skelton Show, Dean Martin Show, and George Gobel, and Carol Burnett, and Red Skelton. They took off about 30, 40 big shows at the peak of their fame. But now I think they're beginning to realize that the old-time audience is still to be reckoned with, and they're bringing back now some of these old-time winners.
Look what happened along the lines of what you're saying. Look what happened with the fiasco. You can't mention the station, WCBS-FM. There was a big brouhaha. People were picketing outside when Don K. Reed and all of our friends were taken off because they went with Jack Radio. Joe, what do you remember about Jack Radio and how...
Nothing.
You don't remember what happened? They went from playing songs of the 50s or 60s to any type of song today. It wasn't even announced.
Oh, I didn't know it was called that.
Yeah.
I know
What did you think about the fact that
they destroyed the station? They went from first to last. It made no sense.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Yeah. And then people picketed in front of the building, and the station manager said, well, we'll give it a little bit of a different situation. We'll play limited oldies, but only from the 60s and not from the 50s. We don't mess with something if it's not broken.
You're right. Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. I want to say, I'd like to say it was a great pleasure to have you here, but I'd be lying.
Listen, no one says so. I wouldn't sell your friendship for $100, and I think you are. Your
My non-Perel.
Your friendship is money in the bank. Blood bank, sperm bank, whatever bank. Banks of the Wabash. Keep on idolizing and worshiping you. What's your name? Walter Gollender. I'm a fan of Walter.
You know, you see, everybody see this hand? Do you know how many celebrities have shaken this paw? Get a close-up, Big Joe.
Jack Benny, Bob Hope.
Yeah, turn it over.
Rudy Valley.
This flesh, this human being, forget about the rest of them. You have shaken the hands of how many people?
Walter Gollender, #1.
Now leave me out of this, I've already made it.
All right, move your hand. Let me get his whole hand.
I'll hold it by the thumb.
Yeah.
I've shaken maybe 5 million hands.
Wow.
And I walk around town, even now it's so gratifying. I'll meet a doctor, a dentist, a rocket scientist, and somebody that they grew up watching the Joe Franklin Show. They learned Americana, they learned culture, they learned silent movies, they learned old-time movie stars, they learned Broadway from watching my show. So it's quite rewarding.
For old time's sake, can we hear one Martin Paint? That was one of my favorites. That's what I want. You do it very well. He imitates you sometimes when he calls.
Martin Paint. Look, my friend, it's a blue ribbon show. Welcome to the archives.
It ain't just paint. It ain't just paint.
Do it with your guttural voice. Come on.
It ain't just paint. You know, Billy Crystal impersonated me for 4 years on Saturday Night Live.
It was better.
Well, that first time I saw Billy asked me, I said, Billy, one of us is lousy.
You've done that joke before, but before we bring this to a...
Let him do the Martin Paint.
I want you to do the actual voice, that distinctive, my friends, a blue ribbon show, this is what...
It's a memory lane, a big one today. Don't ever leave me I'll feel insecure. Stay close, stay tight. Above all, don't forget, I always ask my guests for some little phrase, something to inspire, some little motto. I remember Eddie Cannon said to me a line which has been picked up now. He said to me, it's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice. Harry Ritz, the Ritz brothers, he said,
of course, he called us yesterday.
He said, may you live as long as you want it, may you never want it as long as you live. And Al Jolson said, here's to our wives and sweethearts, may they never meet. That's what I think. Close for New Year's Eve.
If you have a woman, let me get close, let's bond as we go out now. If you have a woman, my friend, talking to my thumb, and that woman loves you, and that woman cooks your food, and that woman sacrifices and slaves for you, return that love, Joseph. Treat her like an angel, and above all, please, don't ever let your wife find out.
Guarantee.
I think we're finished.
And with those words of wisdom, I say thank you, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and let's keep on memory laning for many years to come.
As they say in TV, stand by for the Joe Franklin Show. When you hear that theme from Joe's theme, you know you're at Joe's place. That's me. There's no business like Joe business, no show like this particular edition. There's going to be some spectacular people you're going to meet. And I know that Helen Hayes doesn't mind if I say this. You're going to meet the First Lady, the most respected lady of American theater. songs